Krishna Patro. Today we will discuss about the module 5th definition and terminology. So the module 5th talks about AVL tree, B tree, as well as hash table and hashing functions. So those related questions we will discuss now. So what are the definitions are coming and what are the terminologies are generally important in exam. So those points we will discuss now. The first question they may ask, what is AVL tree? So in the previous session you have seen the general tree as a binary tree and binary search tree. Now we'll see AVL tree. AVL tree is what? It is a self-balancing binary search tree where the difference between heights of the left and right subtree cannot be more than 1 for all the nodes. If this condition satisfies, then that tree is called AVL tree. Because AVL tree is one type of binary search tree, whereas there is a difference between binary search tree and AVL tree. In the case of binary search tree, the data may go either only one side or it may be balancing. Whereas in the case of AVL tree, data will not go one side. This will be completely balanced. So the height difference of left subtree and right subtree may be differ by at most 1. So every AVL tree is a binary search tree plus it is a height balance binary tree. And the difference between left subtree and right subtree may be differ by 1. The height difference of left subtree and right subtree may be differ by 1. And to calculate height balance, you have to calculate first balance factor. Balance factor means what? Height of left subtree minus height of right subtree. That is called balance factor. So for every node, you have to calculate balance factor. If the balance factor is either 0 or 1 or minus 1, then that is permitted. If the balance factor is other than 0, 1, minus 1, then it is imbalance. Now if you observe this tree, please observe the balance factor of 25 is 0. How is 0? Because the left height of this tree, 1, 2, 3. The left height is 3. What was the right height for the 25? 1, 2, 3. So 3 minus 3. So that means 0. So that's why balance factor is 0 for the node 25. Similarly, balance factor for 20. Balance factor for 20 is how much? 1. How it is 1? Because you have to calculate left subtree height as well as right subtree height. This is 1 and 2. So 2 minus the right height is 1. So 2 minus 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So that means 0 is allowed as well as 1 is allowed. Similarly, if you observe for 10, the left height is 0 minus right height is 1. So 0 minus 1 is minus 1. So that means for every node, the balance factor will be either 0 or 1 or minus 1. If this condition is satisfied, then that tree is called AVL tree. If at all it is deviating this rule, then you can say it is not AVL tree. For example, they may ask a question 1, 2, 3. Is it AVL tree? Answer is no, it is not AVL tree. But is it a binary search tree? Yes, it is a binary search tree because it follows the property of binary search tree. Because right side data is always greater than parent. If this condition satisfies, then that is a binary search tree. Similarly, left side data must be less than parent. So it is a binary search tree but not AVL tree. Okay. So they may ask this type of question, then you have to answer. So the simple definition you can say AVL tree is a self-balancing binary search tree where the difference between left height and right height cannot be more than 1 for all nodes. That is the main. Next question. They may ask a question, what are the AVL tree properties? Most of the time in exam, they will ask this question. What are the AVL tree properties? So you should know the main property. Every AVL tree is a binary search tree with additional property that difference between the height of left subtree and right subtree of any node cannot be more than 1. This is the main one. So there are some key points you should remember for AVL tree. What is the key point? If there are n nodes in AVL tree, the minimum height of AVL tree is the floor of log n base 2. That means what? Minimum height is how much? That means if you know number of nodes. Assume n equal to 3. N equal to 3. If there are 3 nodes, so how will you arrange? For example, 10, 5, 20. Is it a ABL tree? Yes, it is a ABL tree. Is it a binary tree? Yes, it is a binary tree. Every ABL tree is a binary tree, no doubt. Now here the question is what? N equal to 3. There are 3 nodes. Now what is the height? So the height is here because this side is 1, this side is 1. So the height of the tree is 1 here. So if I calculate the floor of log n base 2, then I will get here 1. So to get minimum height, I will get this. Similarly, they may ask a question. If there are n nodes in an ABL tree, what is the maximum height which cannot exceed this value? So maximum height for 3, minimum and maximum will be same for ABL tree. Whereas when there are 4 nodes, so how will you arrange? For example, I am having value 30. So I can arrange this way. So if I calculate maximum height, if you apply 1.44 log n base 2. So 1.44 into log n 4 base 2 into 2. So that means how much? Near about 2. So height is 2. So most of the time in exam they will ask this question. What is the maximum height? Then you should say 1.44 into log n base 2. It is maximum which cannot exceed this. Similarly minimum floor of log n base 2. Similarly third question they may ask. If ABL tree having height h, that means if you know the height, then what is the maximum number of nodes? So the question is in the reverse. Height is given. Now they are asking how many nodes are there in the tree. So to find the number of nodes, you can apply this. So 2 to the power h plus 1 minus 1. For example, assume here I am having 15, here 3 and here 7. So here how many nodes are there? 7 nodes. So I should get 7 now. So what is the height? Height is 2 here. Height is 2. If height is 2, how many nodes are there? Maximum nodes. So 2 to the power h plus 1. 2 to the power h plus 1 means 3 minus 1. So 2 to the power 3 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. So that means 7 nodes. If height is 2, at most 7 nodes you can have, but not more than 7. Next, what is the minimum number of nodes in a tree with height h can be represented? It can be represented as n of h equal to n of h minus 1 plus n of h minus 2 plus 1. Using this formula, you can find the minimum number of nodes in a tree where height is h. And remember, for 0 nodes, height is 1. When height is 0, the minimum number is 1. When height is 1, the minimum number of node is 2. So this is another thing you should remember. So remember this formula. To find minimum number of nodes for height h is n of h equal to n of h minus 1 plus n of h minus 2 plus 1. For n is greater than 1 2. Next question. The complexity of searching and inserting and deletion in an ABL tree is always order of log n base 2. This formula also you should remember. Sometimes they may ask how is the time complexity for inserting or for searching or for deleting in an ABL tree. Then you should say order of log n base 2. So these are the 5 important points you should remember for an ABL tree. If these 5 points are known, then you can answer anything. Next question. They may ask another question. What is the maximum height of an ABL tree? Maximum height of an ABL tree with 7 nodes. Now what is this? What is the maximum height of any ABL tree with 7 nodes? Number of nodes are given. Now they are asking what is the maximum heights. So assume that height of the tree with single node is 0. When there is a single node, height is 0. Now they have given the 4 option 2, 3, 4, 5. Which is the correct option? So the answer is 3. Now you may ask a question, how the 3 has come? How will you calculate this? For that, already in the previous slide I have shown This is the formula. N of h equal to n of h minus 1 plus n of h minus 2 plus 1. This is the formula. This formula you should remember. Now, you can apply this. N of 2 equal to, that means height is given. The number of node will be n of 1 plus n of 0 plus 1. N of 1 is how much? 2. N of 0 is how much? 1 plus 1. That means 4. If the height is 2, the number of node will be 4. But here question is what? Number of nodes should be 7. Then what is the height? What is the maximum height? It means that if height is 2, we can achieve with 4 nodes. Similarly, if the height is 3, n of 3 equal to n of 2 plus n of 1. So 4 plus 2 plus 1, that is 7. So that means for number of nodes 7, the height will be 3. So answer is 3. So that means, therefore, for using 7 nodes, we can achieve the maximum height 3. So this is the formula. You can apply this. So remember the formula. N of h equal to n of h minus 1 plus n of h minus 2 plus 1. This formula you should remember. And remember, n of 0 is always 1 and n of 1 is always 2. Apply in the recursive way so that we will get the answer. So here height is given and you will find the number of nodes. So here you have to go in a reverse track so that we will get the answer. Next, they may ask what is M-way tree. Remember, sometimes they may ask M-way tree or sometimes they ask B tree also. Both are same. The B tree also known as M-way tree. B tree means what? The balanced tree. Similarly, M-way tree means also one type of B tree, but M way of searching. The name indicates what? M way search tree. The M way search tree or a multi-way tree which are generalized version of B tree. Generalized version of B tree where each node contains multiple elements. So generally in the case of binary tree, every node will have only single key. Whereas here you can have multiple keys or multiple elements. So in an M-way tree of order M, each node contains maximum of m-1 elements or m-1 keys. And there will be m children. M children, that you should remember. So when I say M-way tree, there will be m children. That means M-way I can search the meaning. If you observe this diagram, it is a B tree of order 4. B tree of order 4. Order 4 means there will be always 4 children. First child, second child, third child and fourth child. If there are 4 child, there will be always m-1 keys. 4 child means 3 keys. First key, second key, third key. So these are the first child. This is one node. This is another node. This is another node. This is another. That means 4 nodes. 4 children. Because it's a B tree of order 4. Similar B tree of order 5. So when I say order 5, there will be always 5 child. First child, second child, third child, fourth child, and fifth child. 5 child. And if there are 5 child, there will be 4 keys. First key, second key, third key, fourth key. So this is the general B tree, or you can say M-way search tree. So remember, so when I say them, sometimes they may ask a question, define M-way search tree. Then is what you have to say? M-way search tree or a multi-way search tree, which are generalized version of B tree, where each node contain multiple elements. So in an M-way tree of order M, each node consists of m-1 elements and m children. Remember, sometimes they may ask a question, if it is a 7-way tree, 7-way tree means how many keys will be there? There will be 6 keys. And how many children will be there? There will be 7 children. Similarly, if there is a 5-way tree, so 5-way tree means 4 keys and 5 children. So this way you can answer. Okay. Next question. They may ask a question, what are the properties of B tree or what is the properties of M-way tree? B tree or M-way tree, both are same. Because sometimes the question they may ask in this way or that way also. Both are same. So these are the main properties you should remember. All leaves are in the same level. So whenever I say M by tree, all leaves must be in the same width. That's why it's called balanced tree. All leaves will be in the same level. All B trees or a B tree is defined by a term of minimum degree of T. That you should remember. For every B tree, the minimum degree is T. Minimum degree is T. Every node except the root must contain at least ceiling of T minus 1 by 2 keys. This point you should remember for a M by tree or a B tree. Ceiling means upper. If I say 2.3, what is the ceiling? The ceiling is 3. If I say 1.7, what is the ceiling? 2. The highest integer, next integer. But if I say 2.9, what is the ceiling? Answer is 3. 0.1, what is the ceiling? Answer is 2. Next highest integer. That is the ceiling. So, if you know the degree, then you can find the at least how many keys will be there in a B tree in every node. Answer is what? Ceiling of T minus 1 by 2 keys. T is the minimum degree. So T is given, then except the root, every node will have at least this many keys are there. So this point also is remember. Sometimes they may ask a question, all nodes including root may contain at most how many keys? At most how many keys? So answer is T minus 1 keys. So remember, if there are degree T, degree means what? This many children, then the number of keys will be always 1 less than the key. That means T minus 1. Similarly, they may ask a question, the number of children of a node is equal to number of keys plus 1. So if keys are given, assume there are T keys, then there will be T plus 1 children. Or if there are K keys, then there will be K plus 1 children. So this many children will be there for every node. So they are the main properties of a B tree. Remember, whenever you say a tree is a B tree, it should follow all these conditions. If these conditions are not satisfied, then that is not a B tree. If it satisfies, then it is a B tree. Next, they may ask another question. Define a hash function. Hash function means what? A hash function is a special function which takes data as an input and returns an integer value as an output. That integer value is called hash value. A hash value of the data item is then used as index for storing it in a hash table. So remember, whenever you are having a huge collection of data, those data can be stored in a hash table, and from hash table you can search any data very fast with help of hashing. So hashing helps you to retrieve the data very fast with help of a special function called hash function. This is the general mechanism. So this key will be acting as a input for the hash function, and when key is given, that will process. After processing, it will give a hash value. That hash value is acting as my index in the hash table. This is a hash table. This table is called hash table. So whatever the output comes from hash function, that will be acting as an index for my hash table. So from that index, you can retrieve the data, or you can store the data there, or you can modify the data there. So hashing helpful for searching as well for retrieving the data from the hash table. Most of the time they may ask this type of question to you. So you must be very careful. Next, they may ask another question. What are good properties for a good function? Or what are the properties of a good hash function? So whenever you want to write a hash function, what rules you should follow so that it will be very good hash function? The properties of good hash functions are, it is or it must be efficiently computable. That means easy to compute the hash index so that you can retrieve data. Second, it minimizes the number of collisions. If there are more collisions, then that is not a good hash function. So it must have less collision. That means for 2 keys, it should not give same hash index. for two key, if you give same index, then that is called collision. So a good hash function should avoid collision. Third one, it distributes the key uniformly over the hash table. So it must distribute the key in such a way that with less effort you can retrieve the data. It must have a distribution of key in a proper way. So it must have a special validity. So these are the three important points you should remember for a good hash function. Then they may ask another question. Define collision. Collision means what? A collision occurs when a hash function produces the same hash value for two different inputs. So if H is my hash function, K is the key, then I will get some output, some index. So for every key, I should get a unique address. But for key 1 as well as for key 2, if I get same index, then that is called collision. That is called collision. See, observe here. For John Smith and for Lisa Smith, I am getting same. For John Smith, I am getting hash index 2. For Sandri, not this one. Sandri, here also I am getting same. That means both are pointing to same index. Then this is a situation of collision. So a collision occurs whenever two key pointing to same index with the help of your hash function, then that is called collision. But it is not a good sign of hash function. So try to avoid collision. So most of the time they will ask this question even in the interview also. Even in the exam, in interview, you have to say this way. Next question. Classify the hash function based upon the various methods by which the key value is found. What are the different types of hash functions are there? So that you can retrieve the hash index. From that hash index, you can retrieve the value. There are various hash functions are there. One is modular division. That means key modulus some division key value, key modulus 10. That gives the hash index. Hash index. That index is acting as my point from where I can retrieve the data. Similarly, subtraction method. If I give the key, I can subtract some value so that I will get some hash index. I will get the hash index. Similarly, digit extraction. If I give the key, I can extract some key, some digit. That is acting as also one hash index. Mid square method. If I give the key, from that key, the middle value, then I can square it. I will get the one hash index. Similarly, folding method. If I give the key, I can fold the key. That means I can add these two. Then I will get one more index. That is hash index. That is folding method. Similarly, pseudo random method. I'll take the key and apply a pseudo function. Then I'll get one more key. Means one more index. That index is my hash index. So these are the various standard methods are there to apply in the hash function. But very popular method is modulo division method. Modulo division method. That means by taking the key and apply this. So these are the standard hashing functions. Next, they may ask what are types of collision resolution techniques. That means whenever the collision occurs, how will you retrieve? How will you come back? How to avoid the collision? What are the different techniques are there? What is the question? What are the types of collision resolution techniques and methods used in each type? Actually, there are two important types. One is open addressing. Second is close addressing. Open addressing also called close hashing, and close addressing is called open hashing. These are the two standard names. And these methods include overflow block, and open hashing method include linked list and binary tree. So whenever this situation comes, you can apply the linked list or binary tree. In a diagrammatic way, you can also represent the collision resolution technique. Are two types. One is open hashing, second one is close hashing. Under open hashing, there is a important method called chaining. chaining is one of the important method under open hashing. Similarly, under close hashing, there are three important methods. One is linear probing, quadratic probing, and double hashing. They are the three important techniques under open addressing. So most of the time they'll ask what are the different collision resolution technique. Then you should answer in this way. What are the way? Open hashing and close hashing. Open hashing means the chaining, and close hashing means within the boundary you have to do linear probing, quadratic probing, and double hashing. Close hashing within this area, within the hash table only. Where in the chaining you have to create separate linked list. Separate linked list. Anyway, try to know these are the two standard resolving technique: close hashing and open hashing. Open hashing means chaining, and close hashing means you are linear probing, quadratic probing, and double hashing. So this way you can resolve the collision. Next question: what is mean by, or what is the load factor of a hash table? So how will you calculate the load factor of a hash table? That means how much data is available currently in the hash table. So that is called load factor. The load factor you can calculate by two ways. There is a separate technique is there. The number of elements present in the hash table divided by total size of the hash table. Assume there is a hash table with capacity 10. With capacity 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. But out of 10, only assume 7 data are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remaining data are not there. Assume. That means out of 10, 7 are filled. So my load factor will be 7 by 10. That means 0.7. So you can calculate this way. So that way load factor is represented by lambda symbol, that is n by m. N is nothing but the number of elements. M is nothing but size of the table. This is the general way of writing the hash load factor. Hash table load factor. So the load factor represents the average number of elements in each table entry. And for open addressing, the hash load factor is between 0 and 1. So whenever you are using open addressing or open hashing, then the load factor will be between 0 and 1. That means if the 10 elements are available, that means 10 by 10. 10 by 10 means how much? 1. If nothing is there, 0 by 10 means 0. So between 0 and 1, if it is open address hashing or open hashing. If it is chaining, that means you can store even more than the capacity of the hash table. So it may be greater than 1. Sometimes they may ask a question, what is the maximum load factor in chaining case? Then you say that is greater than 1. You cannot say how many are there. If it is a close hashing, then between 0 and 1. The load factor will be between 0 and 1. And try to minimize the load factor. If load factor is less, you can store the data very well, as well as you can retrieve the data very well, and there will not be any collision at all. So retrieving will be very fast. Next, they may ask a question, what is double hashing? Double hashing means what? This is also one of the collision resolving technique in open hashing. In open address hash table. Double hashing uses the idea of applying the second hash function. That means 2 times you have to apply the hash function whenever the collision occurs. So whenever collision occurs, you have to apply one more hash function so that you will get one more empty slot where you can store the data. Double hashing can be done by using this formula: hash key, hash 1 key plus I into hash key modulus table size. So this way you can solve your double hashing concept. So double hashing requires 2 hash function. Okay. The first hash function, typically you can write like this: hash 1 with key modulus table size, and second hash function you can apply this prime value minus key modulus prime. So that we will get one more hash index. From that hash index, you can retrieve the data. So wherever prime must be smaller than the table size. So for double hashing, always you apply this prime number followed by this minus key modulus prime. So that will give the second hash index. So double hashing always takes more time compared to single hashing. So generally double hashing will be useful whenever there is a collision occurs. Next, they may ask, give an example of a double hashing. Then you can say, for example, you are having a hash table with size 10. With size 10. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is 0th place, 1st place, 2nd place, 3rd place, 4th place, 5th place, 6th place, 7th, 8th, 9, 0 to 9. 0 to 9. 0 to 9 is 10. Yeah. Now my capacity is 10. 89. Where I have to store? If I apply this modulo division, 89 modulus 10 is 9. So I'll go to 9th place and store here. So 89 will be stored in the 9th place. Next, H1 of 18. 18 modulus 10. 18 modulus 10 is 8. So I'll go to 8th place. Then I'll store here. 18 will be stored in the 8th place. Because I am applying the first hash function where there is no collision at all. Next, H1 of 49. That means when I apply 49, 49 modulus 10. How much I got? 9. But in the 9th place already data 89 is there. So that means there is a collision. So when there is a collision occurs, then you have to apply second hash function. So using double hashing, I can resolve the collision. So for that, what I have to do? I have applied the function called prime minus the key modulus 7. So 7 is my prime number minus. So prime number you have to decide based upon the table size. As a programmer, that is your responsibility to decide which prime number I have to take. So based upon the table size, you can decide. So in this example, I have taken 7. So 7 minus 49 modulus 7. That means key is my 49 and the prime is my 7. Okay. So prime minus key modulus prime. That will give me the second hash index where I can store the data where there is no collision occurs. So here my prime is 7. Prime is 7. 7 minus key modulus prime. My 49 modulus 7 is how much? 0. So 7 minus 0, that is 7. So it says that go to 7th place. 7 position from the 9th. Where the collision occurs? Because the collision occurs in 9th place. From this place, I should go to 7 place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So at this place, I should store how much? 49 will be stored here. Because there is no collision. Okay. Next, 58. So when I apply 58 with the first hash function, I will get how much? 8. So where I should store the 58, I will store in 8th place. But in 8th place already data 18 is there. Then that is collision. So I should apply this formula, second hash function, prime minus key modulus prime. So my prime is 7. 7 minus key is 58. 58 modulus 7. So 7 is 56. That means 2. 7 minus 2. 7 minus 2 means 5. So I should go 5th place from where the collision occurs. So collision occurs at 8th place. So again I will go in a cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here my 18 will be stored here. So that, so not 18, 58. 58 will be stored here. 58. Because there was empty place where I can store the data and there is no collision. Next, 69. 69 means how much? 69 modulus 10. How much? 9. But in the 9th place already data 89 is there. So there is a collision. So where I should store 69? So 7 minus 69 modulus 7. 7 9 ja 63. 7 9 ja 7 9 ja 63. 63 means 6. Remainder 6. 7 minus 6, 1. So I should go to 1th position. Go to 1 position from 9. Because collision occurs at 9th place. Go 1 step forward. So here. So 69 will be stored at this place. So that means in this way you can resolve the collision with help of double hashing. So most of the time they will ask, explain double hashing with an example. Then you should explain this. Next question. They may ask, solve this collision using double hashing. Assume they will give a hash table of size 7 with modulus 7. Key modulus 7 is my hash function. So if I pass key, h of key equal to key modulus 7. Key modulus 7. So my here key is 76. 76 modulus 7, how much? 6. So I'll go to 6th place, I'll store. So 76 store at the 6th place. Next, 93. 93 modulus 7. 93 modulus 7, how much? That is 2. So that means I'll go to 2nd place directly and store. So 93 will be stored in the 2nd place. Okay. Next, 40. See, up to this there is no collision. Up to this there is no collision at all. Next, 40 has come. Where I should store 40? 40 modulus 7, because my formula is what? Key modulus 7. 40 modulus 7 is 5. So I'll go to 5th place and store. So directly 40 is stored. Next, 47. 47 modulus 7. How much? 5. But in the 5th place already data 5 is there. So when there is a collision occurs, now when data is already available, there is a collision. So now I should apply double hashing. So what is the double hashing function? Prime number minus key modulus 5. That means here prime is 5. Because here my capacity is 7. So I have taken the prime value which is less than the table size. So I should take the nearest table size prime number. So 5 minus 47 modulus 3. 47 modulus 5 is how much? 2. So 5 minus 2 is 3. So I should go to 3rd position from where the collision occurs. Actually collision came at 5th place. So I will go to 3rd place. 1, 2, 3. So that means here at 1st place I store that 47. From where the collision occurs, from that point you should go that many steps forward. Okay. So 47 I stored here. Next, I want to insert 10. If I apply my hash function, 10 modulus 7, how much? 3. So I should store the 3 at 3rd place. So directly 3rd place is empty. 3rd place is empty. So at 3rd place I should store 10. So there is no double hashing required. Next, 55. So 55 modulus 7 is how much? 6. But in the 6th place already data 76 is there. So when there is a collision occurs, then I should apply double hashing. So 5 minus 55 modulus 5. 55 modulus 5 is how much? 0. So 5 minus 0 is 5. So I should go to 5th place from the collision occurs. So my collision occurs at 6th place. Collision occurs at 6th place. I'll come down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I should go to 5th place. There I am storing my 55. So this is the way I can retrieve the data. Next, using hash function, the key modulus 7, insert the following keys. So you can apply this 50, 700, 76 this. Apply the key. So 50 modulus 7, how much? 50 modulus 7 is 1. So directly store it here. Next, 700. 700 modulus 7, that is 0. So 0th place. Next, 76 modulus 7, that gives you 6. So directly store in the 6th place. Next, 85. 85 modulus 7, that gives you again 1. So 1 means already data is there. So I can resolve using separate chaining. So stores 85 here. Next, 92. 92 modulus 7, that also gives 1. But in 1th place already data is there. So you can apply the chaining. So store here. So that means whenever the collision occurs, you can resolve this using collision. Means using the chaining technique. Because sometimes they may ask a question, store this data in a hash table, and if there is a collision occurs, apply chaining. So you can apply chaining. Now 73. 73 modulus 7. So that is 3. So directly store 73 here at 3rd place. Similarly 101. 101 modulus 7. That I am getting 3 again. But in the 3rd place already data is there. So you can apply the chaining. Apply chaining and store here. So put in the So this is the way you can store the data in the hash table. This is my hash table. Okay. Next, they may ask what is linear proving. Linear proving is also one type of collision resolving technique. We linearly prove for the next slot. Sequentially, you have to search where the empty slot is there. This is one of the simplest searching means resolving technique, collision resolving technique. But this is a time-consuming process. For example, the typical gap between two prove is 1. So whenever there is a collision occurs, from that point onwards, you have to go one step forward. Again, you have to check whether that slot is free or not. If it is free, store it. Otherwise, again go to next. Again go to next. Keep on going next until you find an empty slot. So hash of x is a slot index computed using hash function, and s is the table size. So for that, the hash x is full. Try with next. If +1 is also full, then go to next. If this +2 is also full, go to next. So like this you have to go. This is the linear proving technique. What is linear proving? And give an example they will ask. Assume I want to solve this thing using linear proving. 76 mod 7. How much? That is 6. So directly store here. Because I am applying key mod 7. Key mod 7 is my formula. That means my hash function is applying the modulo division. So here my key 76 modulo 76. So go to 6th place and store it. Next 93 modulo 7. So that is 2. Go to 2nd place and store it. Next 40 modulo 7. 5. So go to 5th place. 5th place is free. So store 40. Next 47. 47 modulo 7, that is 5. But in the 5th place already data is there. So there is a collision. Here there is a collision. So when there is a collision occurs, then I have to find the empty slot for storing my 47. Where I should store? I have to go to next place, but next place already 66 is there. So then I should go to empty place. In empty place, 0th place is empty. So there I can store 47. So that means you have to find the next empty slot. Next 10. 10 modulo 7. 10 modulo 7 is 3. But in the 3rd place, empty is there. So directly you can store 10. If slot is free, you can store it. Next 55. 55 modulo 7. How much? 6. So go to 6th place. But 6th place data is already there. So I have to find the next empty. To store 55. 47 is free. Sorry, full busy. Then next is free. That means 1th place is free. So in this slot, I can store 55. So this is the way you can store the data, or you can resolve the collision problem. Next, quadratic proving. What is quadratic proving? Quadratic proving is an also open addressing scheme, or is also one type of collision resolving technique. And here we look for the I square slot. That means instead of, in the case of linear proving, you are checking in a sequential order. Whereas here, instead of checking sequential, you have to go I squared place directly. First you check 0, then check 1, then check 2 plus 2 square, 4, 0. 0 square is 0, okay. Because 0 square means same thing, we'll not check. 1 square, 1, 2 square, 4, 3 square, 9, 4 square, 16, then 5 square, 25, like this. That place directly I'll go and check whether that slot is free or not. So instead of checking sequentially, I'll go to that place. If the slot is free, I'll store it. Otherwise, I'll go to next. So this is jumping directly to the empty slot. So instead of wasting time, directly you can go there. So here, hash of x plus 1 modulus x, hash of x plus 2 modulus 2, hash of x plus 3, 3. Like this you can find. Let us have a simple example. Quadratic proving example. Initially I am having hash table empty. Assume 50. 50 I want to store. 50 key modulus 7. Key modulus 7 I am applying. So 50 modulus 7. 50 modulus 7 is how much? 1. So directly I will store it 1th place. No problem. Next 700. 700 modulus 7. How much? 0. So directly 0th place. 0th place is my empty. So directly store here. No problem. Next is 85. So whenever you want to store 85. 85 modulus 7, that is 1. But in 1th place already data is there. So that is a collision occurs. So when there is a collision occurs, I should go to the next slot. Where I should go? I should go to I square. Initial I value is 1. 1 square means 1. So I will go to next to 1 slot from that place. So from that place 1. So my where the collision occurs. So here this slot is free. So I will store there my already collision has occurred at 1th place. From that place another 1 plus. So here my empty slot. So directly I will store 85. Next 92. I have to insert in 92 modulus 7. 92 modulus 7 means 92 modulus 7. 7 ones are 92. 13. 13 means 1. So 1th place already data is there. So this slot is not free. It is a. So I should go to the I square place. But in I square place already data 85 is there. Then I will go to I square 4th place. From where the collision occur. Then I should go to 2 square. So 1 plus 4, 5. I will go to 5th place. In 5th place my data is free. So I will store here. So here I am calculating where I should go to check my empty place. Then next value is insert 73. So 73 modulo 7. 73 modulo 7. That means 3. But in the 3rd place my slot is free. Directly I will store 73. There is no collision at all. There is no collision. Next 101. 101 modulus 7. 101 modulus 7 means 5. 101 7. 7 ones are 7. 3 31. 7 fours are 28 means 3. Sorry, I got 3. I got 3. So 3rd place collision occurs at 3rd place. So when there is a collision occurs, then I should go to next place. 1th place 1 plus 4. 1 plus 4 means how much? 5. 5th place 1 2 3 4 5. 5th place already free means fully. So I should come to this place. 1 plus 4 means 5th place. So where the collision has occurred, the collision occurred at 3rd place. Collision occurred at 3rd place. My 1 2 3 4 5. But this is the collision. Then I will go to 73 has stored here. 1 plus 4. 1 plus 9. 9 means 10. 9 means 10. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. But my empty slot is here. This slot is free. Oh, because already this slot is free. From where that empty slot you will find, because this is already 73. So this slot was free. So we can store here 101. So 101. So this way you can resolve the next. What is rehashing? Rehashing means hashing again. Basically, when the load factor increases more than the predefined value, means if the load factor is more than 75, then it requires rehash. So the complexity increases. So to overcome this, the size of the array is increase or double, and all the values are hashed again and stored in the new double size array to maintain a low load factor and low complexity. Always try to maintain the low load factor so that you will not have any collision. Because if there is empty slot, you can store the data easily. So rehashing generally requires whenever the hash table is already full. That time rehashing required. Next, rehashing one example here. Hash table is full, then spend a lot of time for looking the buckets. Rehash it. It makes the table size twice. And for each item in the original hash table, it has to rehash. It has to find the relocation. This is my original table. So after rehashing, I'll get one more table. Here my load factor was, because there was a 5 data and 5 data is already filled. So 5 by 5 is 1. So load factor is 1. It should be actually 0.75, 75%. And in this case, what I have to do, I have to rehash. So double the size. So earlier it was 5, now 5 by 5, 10. So, or 10 or more. So my table size is 11. Now these values, whatever the values are there, I have to rehash. So I will find this position where I can get the empty slot. Now here it is 5 by 11. So the load factor is less than 1 or less than even 75. So it is the best hash table. Next they will ask, what is the difference between breadth first search and depth first search? Breadth first search and depth first search are the two graph traversal techniques. And the difference between BFS and DFS is that BFS travels level by level, where DFS follows the depth first starting to end node and another path from start to end. So all the nodes can be visited. This is the main difference. Breadth first search travels level by level. Depth first search goes deeply in one side. Next, how do you know and when to use DFS and BFS? The usage of DFS depends upon the structure of the search tree or graph and the number of locations generally needed. And follow the best cases when to use DFS. If it is known that solution is not far away from the root of the tree, then BFS is best. If the tree is very deep and the solutions are rare, then DFS might take the extremely long time. So BFS could be the faster. So depending upon the situation, you have to use either DFS or BFS. If the tree is very wide and BFS might need too much memory, so it might be completely impractical. So we go for DFS in this case. So DFS will be best in this case. If the solutions are frequent but located in a deep tree, so we opt for DFS. So depending on the situation, you can use either DFS or BFS. Then they may ask, what is heap data structure? Heap is a special type of a tree-based nonlinear data structure, which tree is completely binary. It is a complete binary. A heap tree is a complete binary. A binary is said to be complete if all the levels are completely filled except the possibly the last level, and the last level has the all elements towards left are possible. And generally heaps are two types, max heap and min heap. So most of the time they'll ask, what is heap? Then you should say a heap is a special type of binary tree, and it is a complete binary tree, and which fills the data level by level from left to right. Again, the heaps are two types, max heap and min heap. Then they may ask, what is max heap? Max heap is a data element present at the root node must be greater than among the data elements present in the tree. So if you observe this tree, here root is small than both the child. So it is a min heap. Whereas if you observe here, root is greater than, means the parent is greater than both the child. So it is a max heap. Here also, 40 is greater than both the child. 50 is greater than both the child. Similar min heap. So in a min heap, the data element present in the root node must be smallest than among all the data elements in the tree. So in a min heap, the data is, mean the root or parent is smaller than both the child. So here 10 is smaller than 15 and 30. Here 15 is smaller than both 50 and 40. And 30 is smaller than 140. So this way you can do. Next, which data structure used for BFS and DFS? Then answer is queue used for BFS and stack used for DFS. And how to check given binary tree is BST or not? Inverted traversal of binary tree is sorted, then binary tree is a BST. Whether binary tree is BST or not. So you have to check left data is always smaller than parent and right data is always greater than parent. The idea is simply inverted traversal, and while traversing keep track of previous key values. If current key value is greater than, then continue, else return false. Then they will ask, what is the difference between tree and binary tree? Tree means a general one. There is no restriction on the number of nodes. Where in the case of binary tree, there is a restriction. For every node, at most 2 childs are there. So it is a binary tree where it is not a binary tree. It is a general tree. It is a general tree only. Then they may ask, what are the application of graph data structure? Where graph data structure is used? It is used in social network, used in neural network, used in transport grids and power and water utility graphs and shortest path finding of the two algorithms, where these graphs are useful. Then which of the following is false? They have given 4 options. Left child is always less than present. For binary search, they are asking. No, left child is always lesser than the parent. Maybe left, it is asking false. It is true. Right child is always greater. It is true. Left child and right subtree should be binary search tree. Left and right side will be true. But in order sequence gives a decreasing order. No, it always gives increasing order. So it is wrong. So the question is why it is false. So it is false. Next. What is the specialty about the in-order traversal of binary search tree? It traverses in the increasing order. That is the first specialty. Next. Which of the following is a piece of code? What exactly this code is doing? Root of left, root of right and print root. So root is printing last. When the root is printing last, that is a post-order traversal. Next. What is the following piece of code does? Now root is printing first. Then left subtree, then right subtree. That is pre-order traversal. Next. What is the worst case and the average case of the binary search tree? Whenever you want to search. That is order of n and order of log n. If the data goes completely one side in a linear way, that is order of n. When the data goes in a properly balanced, then that is average, order of log n. Then which of the following is not a AVL tree? Not a AVL tree. So this is not AVL tree. Where this is AVL because completely balanced. Height is maintaining. So answer is this. It is not a AVL tree. So that means only B is not AVL tree. Which of the, he is asking which of the following is AVL tree? So B is AVL tree. This is AVL tree. It is not AVL tree. So that means answer is. Which of the following is most widely used external memory data structure? AVL tree, B tree. So answer is B tree because B tree is useful for storing a huge amount of data, especially in the database. B tree of order n of n-way multi-way ST of each non-root node contains as at least n-1/2 keys is the main answer. This already you know the properties of B tree. This answer you should know. A B tree of order 4 and height 3 will be having dash keys. Answer is 255 keys. For that the formula is n equal to m to the power h minus 1. So here given 4 to the power 3 plus 1. So 256 minus 1. Answer is 255. So remember this formula. N equal to m to the power h plus 1 minus 1. Using this formula you can find the number of keys. If several elements are computing the same bucket in the hash table, then what is called? Answer is collision. So most of the time they will ask this type of question. What is hash function? A function that computes the location of the key in the hash table. So answer is B. Which of the following is not a technique to avoid a collision? So make hash function random, okay. Chaining, okay. Random hashing. But increasing hash size is not a collision resolving. It is a rehashing. So answer is B. In simple chaining, what data structure is appropriate? Answer is double linked list. You can traverse left to right. What is simple uniform hashing? Every element has equal probability of hashing into the hash because that is the main property of uniform hashing. Answer is A. Next, what is the maximum height of a AVL tree with 7 nodes? Maximum height is, if you observe here, this is the B. So answer is B. And consider the binary max heap implemented using array. Which of the following is a binary max heap? If you observe here, C is the binary max heap. Because 25 is my root, 14 left child and 16 right child. Because it is a complete binary tree. It will fill left to right. 25 over 14, 16. Then 13. 13 is left. Then 10. 10 is right. Then 8. 8 is this. 12 is this. So it follows the complete maxip property. So answer is C. Whereas the remaining three options are not satisfying this property. Then a priority queue is implemented using maxip. Initially it has 5 elements. The level order traversal of the heap is dash. If you apply this priority queue, 10, 8, 5, 3 and 2. So 10. Then he is asking if you insert 1 and 7, insert 1 because it's a max heap. 1 is inserted. Then insert 7. After inserting 7, but 7 cannot be inserted here. It has to reheap, means it has to rechange. So 10, 8, 7 goes up, 3, 2 and 1 and 5. Okay, so if you do level order, 10 is the first level, 8 and 7 second level, then 3, 2 and 1, 5. So D is the answer. So this is the way you can answer it. Okay. Which one of the following is a key factor for the preparing B tree to binary search tree over the indexing database relation? Answer is the data transfer from disk in blocks. So most of the time they will ask this type of question to you. Okay. So read well. All the best. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.